of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize, sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know, nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place we ever roam could be like Belize, be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize, sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize, Creole and Garifuna.
Good morning, good morning. Here we are once again to do a daily devotion. It's a beautiful, beautiful day outside. Alrighty, so we want to look at the 10 Commandments. 10 Commandments, just as a reminder to people, just as a reminder to folks that our God is a mighty God. It's a mighty God. And the people afterwards, when they saw what had happened, then they became afraid. It says, and God spake all these words, starting from chapter 20. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So God did free his people from slavery. As he frees us from slavery to sin, he frees not only them from the bondage, but he frees us from slavery of sin, putting down a down payment, Jesus Christ, on that. He said, thou shalt have no other gods before me. This was one of the major problems that people had. They used to practice with these false gods. After God has done so much, and you see, how is it you bring yourself to a place where you worship false gods? And this is for us also, as we see what God has done and God reminds us what he has done, we still go back and do things that we shouldn't do. That we look at these people and condemn them. But you know what? The devil knows how to sweeten the cup. Because in the times of practicing these, worshiping these false gods, they had priestesses which were actually prostitutes. And that's what these men were after. And so in getting after these prostitutes, they will go and worship these false gods. Son, it says, thou shalt make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Epigenetics prove just that. It proves that. Just as the word of God says here. You know, we don't need to prove the word of God by anything, but the mere fact that God takes time out for us to understand, that is very, very important. The experiences we have open the portals for generations to come. You know, sometimes people practice some things and they don't consider that their body is not their own. But your future generation is at risk. We go further and it says, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. And that's what we want to do. We want to, as much as possible, keep the commandments of God. You're not saved by keeping his commandments, I will tell you outright from now. If you believe that you can't be saved by keeping commandments. You're saved by grace through faith in Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, that's how we get saved, not by keeping commandments. But we are saved unto good works, which is then looking at these and with the help of the Holy Spirit, trying to do them in our lives. Amen? It says, thou shalt not make the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. You know, the Jews, they don't even want to say the name of the Lord because they take this very seriously. I remember as a child too, they would tell us, do not swear. Not swear. The parents would tell us that. I remember growing up in a household where that was important. We were told not to swear. Do not use the name of the Lord in vain. And that's beautiful. We must have respect. Today, with children speaking to parents any kind of way or to older people, that's not important again. Some people believe they should raise their children to be bold. And bold meaning to laugh any older people. Come on, if you don't have respect for people that you see, you will not have respect for God. That's for sure. He continues here and he says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son nor thy daughter, thy manservant nor thy maidservant, nor the cattle nor thy stranger that is within the gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Now this, as an evangelical, I struggled with this because the seventh day, if you look at the calendar, the seventh day is Saturday. Now we are practicing a new thing, celebrating the first fruits, because that's Sunday, which was the first day of the week as it's told in the Bible. That's what we are commemorating. We are commemorating the first day. This has to do with respecting God. What we need to focus on today, though, is those Christians who want to, if they have anything to do, they give up that Sunday. We're saying that Sunday, we're going to give Sunday as our day to worship the Lord and serve the Lord. That is not ours to keep, to do what we want with it. If you decide you're going to do that, then you got to dedicate all that time to the Lord. Verse 12 says, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God hath given thee. Wow. How many children today don't honor their parents? They do some crazy stuff and they don't care. Some people don't take care of their parents. We are told you're worse than a heathen. You have to put plans in place to take care of your parents. And I know Mother's Day is always taken as a very serious thing. But Father's Day is the same thing, man. We have to give honor to father and mother. That's what it says here. Honor thy mother and thy father. Not only thy mother, but thy father also. Sometimes as fathers, we're overlooked by our children. This is the one for us. Thou shalt not kill. Afraid anymore. What they're trying to do is to terrorize the law-abiding citizens. Terrorize them by committing crime and then daring them to go and give evidence in court. We pray that the system will respond to these things and fix them, because we cannot continue to go on like this. Thou shalt not commit adultery. The more we look at these, it's like going up our alley. Adultery is gone beyond that. When we see people who are bold enough to come and talk about legalizing homosexuality in this country, removing Section 53 from the laws of Belize that deals with that, it's any kind of sexual sin. But we have gone beyond just the ordinary adultery, where a man will have sex outside or won't have sex outside of marriage. And there's a reason why God did that, because God is omniscient. He knows. He knows. So these things that they're pointing out here is talking to us. Thou shalt not steal. If you only go and see what's happening in some of those ministries, you drop down if you know what's happening in some of those ministries. So people are just robbing the coffers blind. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Telling lies. That's a style now. That's the people don't even worry about it again. I get very, very angry with anybody who tries to lie to me. If you do something, be man enough to say I did it, or woman enough to say I did it. Why lie? By bearing false witness. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is in thy neighbor's is thy neighbor's. Do you know that all these commercials hinge themselves on that? Something that they show that you want. People are always wanting things. If somebody have it, I want it. Sometimes they go as far as spilling blood to get it. See a woman that is married, boy, at the time people go after her, or a man that is married, the women go after them. These things are just highlighting how far we are from God. And I hope this morning you get a chance to look at all these things and think about them and see where we are, because we're not in a good place. Morality is based on the Word of God, not what people think is right and wrong. Real true morality is based on the Word of God.
sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize, sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know, nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place we ever roam could be like Belize, be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize, sweet Belize, land of the isles and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. Creole and Garifuna.
Benny's is kicking off Father's Day with popping deals for dad. In the month of June, visit a Benny's near you and get 19 to 25% off selected items such as Milwaukee and Axie power tools, Charbroil barbecue grills, car care products, Karcher pressure washers, and much, much more. Make dad happy with popping deals for dad in June, only at Benny's.
Benny's, Benny's, oh, Benny's, 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 oh.
In our world that's always changing, one thing stays the same.
Our promise as Smart Belize to keep you connected.
Connected to the moments, the people, and the future that matter most.
With every new tower, our service upgrades, and every new smile, we're keeping our promise in building more than a network.
We're building a future, a family as Smart Belize. From Punta Gorda to Corozal, we are here not just as a network, but as your partner in progress.
We have grown significantly over the past 20 years, and we just keep growing. Thank you for placing your trust in us. We remain dedicated to providing meaningful connections that bring value in every way that matters to you. We continue to bring people together.
Each year, as we launch the team for national celebrations, we enter a period that really goes up until Independence Day. During this special period, we try to make a special effort to celebrate Belize, to showcase Belize's culture, Belize's heritage, our history, our diversity. Belize at 44, stronger together, rising forever. I think as a country, we've always understood the importance of unity. When we work together as a people, we can overcome any challenge, any obstacle. Resilience. How can we rise above the challenges? How can we continue to be a resilient people, even when we face adversity? How do we respond to that adversity? So I think it's a very, very timely, a very relevant theme. And I certainly hope that, we embrace that theme and that Belizeans will get a sense of purpose out of this theme.
Pletz Home Builders is the largest house building company in Belize. Pletz combines the best skilled workers, high-grade materials, and the latest technology to produce the highest quality wooden residential structures. Request any size, color, and the home layout you want. Choose from hardwood or painted metal outer walls. Pletz can modify any of their existing house plans to your satisfaction, complete with all the installation services you need anywhere in the country, including ambergris key. They can also lift your house to your desired height up to 9 feet. From properly treated and cured lumber to quality sidings and floorings, let Pletz Home Builders give your home the finish you need. For prices or questions, call 823-0398 or go to www.pletzhomebuilders.com. Pletz Home Builders, we build to suit your needs.
Looking to build or renovate? Find the inspiration you need in our showroom. First stop, the kitchen. Explore big-name appliances, all built to make life easier. From there, let the lights guide you. But what about the finer details? We've got you covered. And to bring it all together, we've got tiles for every surface.
All available online.
Builders Hardware, your home improvement warehouse.
Belize, it's here. Digis WTF Mega 3-Day Sale Event. What? I meant Wednesday, May 28th, Thursday, May 29th, and on Friday, May 30th only. With exclusive devices offers starting at just $59. What? Yes, on DigiWallet's marketplace. Shopping stores, only device deals at DigiStores and Cellular World locations countrywide with savings up to $260. Are you serious? Yes. Enjoy slash prices when you sign up for a mobile postpaid plan, DigiOne bundle, or DigiNet plan. This is the sale you don't want to miss. Rush in or tap fast before it's all gone. The WTF Mega 3-Day Sale Event only with Digi, and once it's gone, it's gone. Gone.
Mopping, tiles, furniture, and...
Miss, you don't need all of this, man. Only this you need. We make 4 out of this. And it's cheaper than all of them put together.
I want it.
Green Clean, all your cleaning needs in one bottle.
You don't have to worry, and don't you be afraid. Joy comes in the morning. Troubles, they don't last always. For there's a friend in Jesus who will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken, just lift your hands and say, I know that I can make it. I know that I can stand. No matter what may come my way, my life is in your hands. I know that I can make it. With Jesus, I will stand. No matter what may come my way. My life is in His hands. No matter what may come my way. Troubles may come, tribulations may come.
Did you hear about the beef?
No, what happened?
I'm making meatloaf.
No.
Lewis is making meatloaf. Joel's making burgers. Anthony's making burgers.
bread, we are doing croutons, and the bread will soak it with milk, and that will embrace the flavor for the meatloaf to make it juicy.
It's hot.
We have to let go one of them, you know. So I wish them good luck to the other contestants for the final.
Proudly sponsored by Grill Master, Beef Masters, Rustino's Imports, and PlusTV. Other sponsors include Tri Fitness Club, Alan Paradise Hotel.
Attention Belmopan residents. This is an important reminder regarding the proper disposal of debris in our community. As per Statutory Instrument Number 122 of 2005, Section 10, Subsection B, residents are strictly prohibited from placing debris on the buffers. Violating this regulation is considered a ticketable littering offense. Residents are encouraged to use private contractors or contact the Belmopan City Council to make arrangements for debris disposal. If you need assistance with debris disposal, please contact the Sanitation Department at 822-2271, extension 2019. This message is brought to you by the Belmopan City Council. Let's work together to keep our beautiful city clean and safe. Thank you for your cooperation.
City residents, civic pride is all our responsibility. It's about taking ownership of our city and embracing its beauty. But amidst this beauty lies a growing concern: the continuous destruction of city property. And a part of civic pride is taking care of public property. Therefore, the Belize City Council takes this time to remind city residents that these acts are not just vandalism. They are crimes against rights to property and criminal damage to property. Under Chapter 101 of the Criminal Code within the substantive laws of Belize, a person who, without lawful excuse, destroys or damages any property belonging to another, intending to destroy or damage such property, or being reckless, shall be guilty of a crime. Upon conviction, a person can face up to 1 year imprisonment. We must all do our part to safeguard what belongs to all of us, what belongs to our city. Together, we can make a difference. This is our city. Let's respect it. Your Belize City Council, always about the people.
Sunshiny day. I don't think I see any rain in the forecast, maybe some sprinkles or whatever, but we're still getting sunshine. And if you got lots of projects and things that need to happen like me, then you're happy for that sunshine, because trying to push a little bit harder before the heavy rains come. But anyways, we're very, very happy to have you with us. And this morning I'm joined by Mr. Kerm Timbrell. And Kerm, good to have you with us this morning. And Lewis is away on assignment and getting some other things taken care of. And so anyways, we're going to be talking about things that are happening in the nation today. And so anyways, it's a good, I think it's a good opportunity for us, as always, to be able to address things, speak into it. You know, there's this thing that's called right and this thing that's called wrong. And it seems like nobody wants to talk about wrong these days. And yet it's if you're not going to do things the right way, right, then you wind up in the wrong way. And then when news media comes chasing after you and wants to pin you down or hammer you down or beat you up or whatever, you know, you have nobody to blame but yourself. That's right.
Well, these issues are issues of national importance, Pastor Scott. And people every day in this country tune into the evening news. You know, they want to see what was the happenings for that particular day. You know, they're not like the United States where, you know, CNN, the NRD or Fox News. We have to depend upon social media pretty much until when the 6 o'clock news comes on, and then you get to see the pressing issues, the headline issues, right, that's taking place in the country. And so this morning we will be discussing some of those things, because I'm sure, you know, you're watching news, but people are there on their couches, in their bedrooms, with an opinion on the issue that took place. They want to know more. They're like concerned. They have an opinion on it, a view on it. And so this morning is your opportunity also to call in and express how you may feel about a particular issue. I think, Pastor Scott, we're going to be starting on the issue of the credit union and the unions. You have the unions. The unions we've seen in yesterday news have the utility unions, to be that exact, has sent out a letter of support.
We normally don't hear from them.
Yes.
They're not the first ones to get out there and put out a press statement or, you know, address issues or whatever. And so, but I'm glad that they stepped up, because it's important. There's things that need to be addressed, and each one of them have a perspective on the situation. And so, and then they have this thing, you know, in the unions they call solidarity, where
yes,
they're gonna stand together. And so those are important issues. But you know, I think at the root of the problem, like when the pandemic happened, you know, we kind of had to press pause on everything. We had to press pause on life, and press pause on economics, press pause on everything. And so press pause on the increments. We would like to be able to do the increments, right? And so I think that was understandable. But
of course,
but before the pandemic, you know, there was a pattern and a backdrop of kicking the can down the road, kicking the can down the road, kicking the can down the road. And then the pandemic, and then we get things back to normal, and you know, we get these figures of how well the economy is doing and how well the government is doing, and this and that and that, but then we're still kicking the can down the road, you know, and then want to take the 8.5% and break it up into, you know, all right, well, we'll give you, I'm saying this facetiously, yeah, we'll give you 1%, you know, over each year for 9 years. Like,
yeah,
are you kidding me? You know, yeah. And so, anyways, Lord have mercy, but these are important issues, and it's part of the reason why the unions are upset. And you know, I want to encourage everybody, if you grab the wasp nest and shake it, you know, you have nobody to blame than yourself when you get stung, right?
Yeah, and Pastor Scott, as a disclaimer, we want to remove politics out of the conversation so that we can properly and accurately address the issues. Because, you know, as you talk about something, people go, oh, well, it's political, it's political. No. These are issues of national importance.
That's right.
Like what you said, it's been kicking the can down the road, down the road, down the road, down the road. How far down the road can this can go?
That's the whole thing. How far can you kick it, right? But, you know, the whole dynamic as well, Kerm, you know, is that, I mean, we try to remove politics, but our leaders are political.
That's right.
The party that's in charge is political. And so being non-political, I want to say, okay, let's, you know, they say those who fail to understand history are doomed to repeat it. And so, right. So let's look back, you know, back in the day, you know, when the UDP was in charge, and the PUP was fighting and quarreling and kicking under the table and trying to decide who's going to be their leader and this and that and that. And now, you know, it's easy for them to throw stones at the current UDP because of all of their problems. But exactly. Not that long ago, they were right there at the same spot, and the UDP had a supermajority. And first term, we were working closely with the government, like as we always do. Government, not with the political party, with the government. And so the first term, I remember Pastor Wade and I mean, we were high-fiving each other, you know, that, wow, the things that were set, you know, in place, and it's like, this is wonderful. Like, this is what we've been waiting for forever, you know. That was the first term, right? And then the second term came in, and then there started to be some hanky-panky, and they want to play the coconut shell game, and switch everything around, and we started getting into some blatant corruption in the second term, and I know Pastor Wade began to address that, not just from on air, but very in personal conversations, and he started an anti-corruption campaign and invited the Prime Minister to join him, and I don't think there was a response at that time, and things started to get worse and worse, and then documentation started coming to this desk or to this office, this media house, and started blasting the news on this, and then everybody started to get vexed with everybody and all that. Then we come into a third term, and Lord have mercy, like we had no idea what a third term would look like, right? But they say power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so it was that third term of terrible corruption that led to this massive supermajority swinging over to the PUP. They finally got their act together, and got everything worked out. And but these guys were so bad, and we need new ones. And now they're still kicking each other under the table. In the UDP, can't get their act together. I can't figure for the life of me, Kerm, why somebody doesn't say, listen, on behalf of the bigger picture, I think I'm going to step back. We need to let this thing move forward, right? Yeah. And so I was telling everybody, Shine Barrow after the election, boy, the man take a licking. Yeah. And he bowed his head and said, I will resign, and I thought, okay, and everybody's railing on him, and he's just staying focused. I thought, all right, he's handling like a champ, right? Well, it didn't take too long for the old Shine to come back and start fighting, and here we are back. And so, Lord have mercy, but history is repeating itself. That's right. And now we're starting to see some of these questionable things that are happening. I for one, Kerm, I have a real problem with BTL purchasing Smart. Yeah. Right? Because of this thing. And how many of these leaders are of these politicians are attorneys? Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? You don't understand about conflict of interest? Exactly. If you have a judge that's sitting on a case that comes to, and wait, well, I know this person, or I'm very close friends with the person's brother or whatever, and so you need to recuse yourself. It's a discipline point. You recuse yourself. You step back, because it would be inappropriate for me to rule on this situation when I'm closely related to family members of this person, not that person, family members of that person, right? Yeah. It's a discipline thing. It's a principled thing. Yeah. I don't recall anything in our Constitution concerning conflict of interest. Yeah. I think we need something. That was one of our points from National Evangelical Association, contributing to what would you like to see in the Constitution. Yeah. We need something in there in relation to conflict of interest, or better yet, a commission for enforcement that has the authority to open inquiries, not Senate inquiry. That's a nurse shark. It looks really mean, but it doesn't have any teeth. Mm-hmm. We're talking about an actual investigation. We need a commission. We need some kind of body that is non-political or bipartisan, some kind of way. We need that for true self-governance. But what winds up happening, Kerm, is we have these situations of conflict of interest, right? Where on behalf of the government, people and leaders that sit in the government, that also have financial investment into these things and are making a decision on
the influence, the outcomes, the influence the decisions.
There's no two ways about it.
I was reading Pastor Scott over the weekend. I've been studying through the book of Exodus, right? And interestingly, it talks about the protection of property. I know as we speak, there is a team on one of the morning shows talking about the parcel of land in Placentia, the tip of the pint, right? There's a big discussion right now because, again, land was sold off and the community needs the land, right? So anyways, interestingly, I was reading this in Exodus chapter 17, I think it is, right? It talks about, it says, whoever steals an ox or a sheep, this is God giving Moses the law to give to Israel. They're creating a community, a culture, right? The boundaries and borders of how they do life. And it says, whoever steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters it or sells it must pay back 5 head of cattle for the ox and 4 sheep for the sheep. In other words, what he's saying here is that if you steal 1 sheep, you want to pay back 4 times the amount. There's a penalty. There's a clear penalty. And I believe that there's laws. We have to go to the Constitution. We have to look at the laws. There's so many laws being passed these days. I know so many times you guys are in committee meetings trying to influence how the bill turns out as it goes into the last stage, right? So the Bible is clear here. It goes on, it says, if a thief is caught breaking in at night and is struck a fatal blow, the defender is not guilty of bloodshed. But if it happens after sunrise, the defender is guilty of bloodshed, right? And the Bible is so clear, it's so precise, pertaining to how Israel was supposed to deal with matters of criminal acts.
Well, and then even along the lines of judges to judge the people. And it said very specifically, these are to be men of integrity, of faithfulness, you know, who are unbiased, who will not take a bribe. I mean, it lays out all these clear, you know, dynamics, right, of that honesty and that integrity, and it also placed the same standard on governmental leaders, the princes.
Of course, yes. As a matter of fact, it says that the king was supposed to have a copy of this book in his office.
That's right.
That he learns to fear the Lord, you know. But I'm saying that, Pastor Scott, because as we look at, and I know we're going to be discussing later also the issue with the credit unions, right? And all of these things of historical significance that keeps repeating themselves as it relates to corruption in our country. And we see where is the penalty? Where is the penalty? Do you see anybody being charged? Anybody goes to court, goes to jail for these things? No, it doesn't happen. Not in Belize.
Yeah.
You know, with the issue with the credit union, Pastor Scott, I am yet to see somebody been criminally charged, somebody been arrested.
Right.
There's no such thing.
We've got a call.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, you were just winding up there. Sorry, we'll pick up on that. Morning, caller. Thank you for joining our conversation.
Yeah, 2 things this morning. One, the political situation in the UDP. Sometimes ago, I used to call in and say, they're on the deck of the Titanic fighting for leadership. It so happens that now the Titanic has sunk and they're at the bottom of the ocean. I don't think they could get any worse than they are right now. Next thing, the telecommunication situation. During consultation, I called for an antitrust law in Belize because of the same situation we are about to enter.
That's right.
They should never, shareholders of one company should never be allowed to hold any shares in the other telecommunications because that's a lack of interest, and it's going to turn out that one person will enter and hold most of the shares in a new company. As it turned out, this holding, breaking up, and we are going back to the 1990s, where one company will block your signals from certain service and will increase and give premier service to others. We can't let this happen. We have to have competition.
That's right.
Regardless of what video is saying that 2 companies can survive. We have to have competition, or else we are dead in the water. It's true that communication is improved and there are certain options you can work on, but never should we enter just one company.
That's
and
right.
we can't leave it to the Public Utilities Commission, PUC. That's why I was pushing for a law that says we have to have competition. Right now in the vehicle insurance, they're tied, they're locked up because there's no competition. All of them are charging. That's antitrust real down the line. They should be able to compete against each other. And it's sad to see the road we are going. And if we allow it to happen, it will happen despite the interest in the company, because smart is mostly family oriented. So they should have all interest in not having a monopoly in Belize. Thank you. Have a pleasant day.
Yeah, thank you very much for calling, and I appreciate the feedback.
Pastor Scott, I guess in essence, what the caller is saying, what I'm saying, what you're saying is that there's a problem in how we govern this country.
Particularly related to anti-corruption.
Exactly. Particularly as it relates to anti-corruption. You know, and people almost like they're becoming emboldened at the fact that, well, because I guess they're looking on and say, you know, like what the Bible say, when the wicked go unpunished, what? Wickedness just continue. You understand? If you have a credit union where people go and steal, because that is stealing, that's 600,000, it's over $500,000. These guys gave themselves fake loans. Where is FIU?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
Exactly.
Where is FIU?
Exactly.
We keep the right and they say that. I mean, I guess so much letter I say shocks saying people don't realize I'm busy home and read all and I think I have so much stuff to do already.
Hey, Kirby,
where is FIU?
You and me, you and me, if we go deposit $5,000, you have to show where this money's coming from. Well, I sold a vehicle. All right, we want to see the bill of sale. We want to see the title. You have to, and I'm okay with that, right?
Yes.
Because right is right and righteousness is righteousness. Right, but then what happens is when they come down so hard on us, and then these other ones, you know, I've shared this before. A number of years back, there was a guy. We find out information as pastors when somebody gives their heart to the Lord and they have to confess, they have to get this stuff off of their chest, right? This guy that was involved in human trafficking and sex trafficking, and he talked about. You know, that they gave him $175,000, you know, for what he was doing with it. Yeah, and this same man walked right into the bank and withdraw the $175,000, no questions asked, which tells me that the banks are complicit in the corruption.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, for an average Joe like you or me, you know, you make a deposit of $5,000. They want a note from your great grandmother. You know, they want a note from President Trump or you know, Kofi Annan or whoever else all over the world. All these different, you know, Margaret Thatcher, who's already passed away. They want information. You have to back this thing up, but for others they just go free.
That's right.
And so it's terribly wrong, and it's affecting our nation in terrible ways. And so, of course, Pastor Wade shared Sunday night at the Global Day of Prayer.
Yeah.
That $1 million every day is lost.
It's an
in
estimation.
Corruption. It's an estimation,
and it's probably more than that.
Oh, I'm sure.
Pastor Scott, when you put in customs, I mean, gosh.
How can you measure that?
You can't measure that one. You know, it's like so many areas where lands department all over, because the crime keeps going unpunished.
Yeah.
Where are the drug planes, Pastor Scott? Yeah. When are the last time you hear one drug plane? Yeah. Huh? People have all of these questions. And you know John Maxwell's famous quote, everything rise and fall what?
On leadership.
And leadership. And we need leadership to step up and to show forth, like what God was telling Israel here, like, don't think these things will go unpunished. I mean, and that was one of the things Israel was good at, by the way. I mean, you commit the crime, you want to do the time. You understand? And we don't see that in our society today. People are watching, and Pastor Scott, we are connected into why we believe the unions are also, the teachers are putting a heavy foot down. Because, well, I don't want to go there, but I guess the point that I'm making first is that, you know what? When will we see some arrests been put in place?
Yeah.
When will we have the proper legislations? Every house meeting, whether that PUP or UDP, every single house meeting, so many bills are being presented for debate. That is with the hope that these things will become laws. Why don't we have? You know, one of the discussion you mentioned earlier in the show, Pastor Scott, is the issue of UNCAC. You know, they say when you lack internal government, you have to hire external coaching. Where you lack internal discipline, you hire external coaching, which means somebody from the outside now, outside your system, has to come in and help guide you.
And who
right?
was it? Who was it that brought Prime Minister Dean Barrow, pushed his hand to sign for UNCAC?
These teachers,
same teachers,
the unions,
same teachers,
the unions.
Okay, and I rejoice. Wow, we signed on the UNCAC. I have now, looking back over donkey's years, right?
Yeah.
I now realize, okay, it only takes 5 minutes to sign on to UNCAC.
Yeah.
There, we signed on. Can somebody please tell me what is happening with? Well, we're working on it. We're working on it. No.
Yeah.
When you remember when the government wanted to take away BTL?
Yes.
You remember?
Yes.
Sunday Parliament.
Yeah.
Sunday National Assembly. Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday. And by Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why can't we do UNCAC like that, right?
Exactly.
You know, we need a Bukele or something like that to rise up in Belize.
And yet, Pastor Scott, that is what was revealed clearly in the consultations. Because we gone and we say we look at the whole constitution, right? If we get UNCAC, we're happy, but that's what people were saying at the consultations. We want to address matters of corruption in this country.
Oh, in relation to the Constitution?
Yes, remember the commission,
yes.
Meetings.
That's the feedback.
Yeah.
That was one of the top things coming from the people of Belize that we need to see change in. And yet, Kerm, and I'm not throwing stones. Like I said, I really don't care about politics. I care about what's right, and I care about what's wrong, right? And you know, I remember Pastor Wade used to get a lot of heat during the UDP days. Well, Pastor Wade now, PUP, and I remember him saying, you just wait until when the PUP comes in. If they start to do fool you, I'll see me doing the same exact thing to them, because it has nothing to do with red or blue or political bias. It has everything to do with good governance. We throw those words around like, and it's so cheap, because when we keep talking about good governance, but then fail to step in and implement that, execute and bring that in, but did not the PUP campaign on the basis of we're going to activate UNCAC.
Definitely,
they came in
that
in
was
their first
in the
term.
Manifesto.
Yes, they came in their first term.
Pastor Scott.
And then they renewed that for the second term, and here we are.
Corruption still going on.
And well, not only corruption, where is UNCAC?
That's right.
Where is UNCAC? Right? Well, we're working on it. It's like, if that was my vehicle, at the mechanic, he says he's working on it.
You'd be walking, man.
I'd be walking, but I would go. I've done that before. I've gone to the mechanic with my truck and a chain and haul my vehicle out of the place.
Because, slim and trim.
And so
lean and probably getting mean.
But we're working on it. Well, these things take time. Yeah. That sounds to me like kicking the can down the road. The teachers are tired of hearing that.
Yeah.
The unions are tired of hearing that.
Yeah, the
well, these
citizens are
things
tired of hearing
take
it.
time, and I understand. I understand. You know, the amount of teachers, the amount of public service, right, and then increment and what that's going to translate into. But the other side of the coin, Kerm, we've known about this for years.
Oh yeah,
we've known about this for years.
It's a part of our history now.
Yes. And so
almost a part of our identity.
And then they want to try and spin it around. That they're going to throw stones at the teachers that because sick a day we have to raise the tax. Like, are you kidding me? We've known about this for years. The failure to implement, the failure to execute, and so, anyways, I'm upset about this, but I want to make mention of this. The caller that called in hit a very, very important point about the need for competition.
Oh yes.
Not just in telecommunications, like wherever that's feasible. It would be difficult to have 5 different water companies. Right? It'd be very, very difficult. But with telecommunications and wireless and even with cable and all of that, they've got multiple cable companies. And that means we have to have what, 3 cables, running on the pole because they're not going to share cable or whatever, right? But competition keeps the market pure. I remember when we turned the year into, this is before the BTL takeaway, right? We turned the year, and I noticed, because I use prepaid phone. I sat down and worked out, and calculated out the whole plan with what I use and how I do it. It's much better for me using a prepaid, when especially back in those days they used to do triple up. If you remember,
so
that was in the time of dinosaurs, right?
So they don't do that again.
They don't do that again. But listen, we come into the year. No more triple up. No double up. What? No nothing.
They take the full
January, February,
Father's Day,
March, April. Yes, we gone through Valentine's. We got through Valentine's. We got through Mother's Day. We got through Father's Day. Finally, when we come to June, that's when the thing come up that that one company, one guy owns BTL and Smart, and that's what it's perfect proof right there. Competition keeps the market pure. If the other guys are lamping up, right, then you do a sale on this area and you start pulling people over, your way. How much people, I have a hard time with this, Kerm. How much people got 2 phones? They got one Digi and they have one Smart. They got 2 phones.
They still got a phone with 2 chips.
And then whichever's doing the better deal, then they go with that one, right? And so anyways, all of that just to say, I can't believe that we are allowing for these things to happen, right? But I remember in telecommunications in the United States, I came to Belize when I was 20 years old. I remember in my teens, it was a big thing. One of the telecommunications companies was going to take over these other telecommunication companies. And the Supreme Court stepped in and blocked it from happening because of this. The gentleman that called in, the antitrust. And so it's like, wait a minute. No, you can't do this. You cannot own all of these companies here. That, I mean, it's actually built into the system and the economic principles for in the United States that you must have competition because competition keeps the market pure. So anyways, it boggles my mind to see that people would even contemplate this, much less have this go out publicly, and then people don't rail up. But maybe they don't understand those principles.
Well, people understand, Pastor Scott. The problem we have in Belize is that, again, more and more our people fear our leaders. It's an unhealthy fear, right? Because people don't want to say when they say something wrong because they feel if I say it, I'm going to be penalized. I become the bad person. I'm the bad guy. Not the person who take the money from the credit union and will get arrested. You become the bad guy. You understand? And so people more and more feel fear. And that's why the union system works best for Belize, because when the people come in masses, that is when you're able to get governments to sign on to UNCAP. When the unions demand and threaten the government, and it's unfortunate we have to reach to the place where we've been threatened to do certain things, right? But that is the only way it seems that will work, unfortunately, and that's the reality for this country. And if you have ministers that saying this morning, you guys know we're telling the truth. You guys know these discussions are not new discussions. The people of this country want to be governed right for the most part. We do have corrupt people, but we have the majority of the population of this country who wants best for Belize, who understand the everyday issues, who understand wrong, who keep in touch with the news. And I'll tell you, this investigative journalism have really been helping this country, because, man, I'll tell you, Jules, right there, Jules Vasquez, to me, is a key man for this country. Because Jules is not afraid. Jules will go out, he will do his research, and
like
he's going to report to the people. Yeah, he's going to report to the nation. And people will watch. And there's authenticity in what he shares, because it's clearly explained. And so why are we still here? I don't know, Pastor Scott. I don't know for how long, right? For how long our leaders will be in a place where they don't realize that whatever you're doing in the dark, what will happen to it? It will come to the light. Yeah. The credit union manager, he never understand what they look like. He never understand. And then, man, I tell you this week, there was so much stuff about that credit union on the news up to last night. Up to last night. You know? Up to last night. Like, one thing people don't play with, Pastor Scott, is their money, you know. People don't mess around when it comes to their money. You don't play with people's money, right? Yet we see where the credit union last night was asked, well, basically they were putting out a public announcement saying that, well, everything is in order, but then people are still a bit suspicious because, gosh, how could that have gone so far? Like we're saying, who is responsible to give oversight? Where is Central Bank? Where is FIU? Where is the CIB? Somebody, and not one person, because clearly everybody was fired from the credit union. How comes nobody was arrested? Yeah. When will we see our arrests go forth? If we don't arrest them people, we should leave them guys as outside alone, Pastor Scott. Yeah. We need to leave those people alone because, gosh, what is it now? Is it what? Is it a unbalanced pendulum? You only apply the law to who you see, who you see is fit?
I'm wondering where's the auditing mechanism, you know, from within the banking and credit union situation. Exactly. Like these are the kind of situations where that is activated, right? And somebody steps in and says, we are taking over this investigation, right? And but then it's one of our problems and one of our difficulties in our system with you know, in the Westminster model with two political parties. It's kind of winner take all, and then these things are under a political directorate, and if this is involving a political person, you know, then they call off the dogs, and we need the dogs. We need those pit bulls. We need those Rottweilers, you know, to come in and do the investigation, because right is right and wrong is wrong.
Pastor Scott, you know who should be speaking up on this?
But you know, I'll say this as a joke, and we need to take a break, right? But they say that the law is for the opposition, right?
It seems like it.
The law. Well, when you have the ruling party that's in charge of the law, and everybody just seems to just walk free, you know. We kick the can down the road, give enough time, some other juicy story will pop up and fill in the space of the news, and then everybody kind of forget about that. Maybe we just left that right there, right? But if it's the opposition, tomorrow.
So that kind of like the boot story, the boot scenario, with the land that's a whole next story. That's not finished discussion.
And some of those things I scratch my head and say, I don't even know what to believe.
I'm telling you, man.
Because when people from the previous party get involved in these hanky-pankies, and then later on it becomes exposed, and then they want to fight and play like righteous. I'm not saying that that's that situation. I'm saying many situations over the years. I've been here for over 40 years, right? I've got two eyes. I stay in tune with news. Many situations, and it's like, man, if we can't do something to tighten that up, something wrong with us. But anyways, we need to take a break.
Let me just say this before
we
break.
go ahead.
I believe it's time. We heard last night from the Utility Companies Union. And they sent out a letter in solidarity to the BNTU and the PSU. We need to hear from the chamber, especially as it relates to that issue with the credit union. The chamber needs to step forward and put out a press release. This is talking about issues of people, financial investments. The chamber will need to hear from the chamber, because it seems like only when these organizations step forward and say something and put their foot down, we see some type of traction in the right direction.
Yes, and it shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way.
That means that these ones that rail up and put pressure, they're the ones that are actually in charge. Because the ones that are supposed to be in charge are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? And then that's why I'm saying, right is right and wrong is wrong, fair is fair. You chop on the two side. I don't care if you're red, blue, whatever. Exactly. You chop on the two side, and then that's where, if you hear about something going on and you're in charge, you need to fire a shot across the bow and say, oh no, I get in big trouble, and I want to get you in big trouble, and I better stop it right now.
Exactly.
Right? But where is that happening in our nation? Anyways, we're just getting going. We've got a number of things to be able to talk about, but we're going to take a break. We're going to give a few minutes for our sponsors of Rise and Shine and PlusTV to be able to share with you about their wonderful products. Please make sure you purchase those products. And we're going to be right here in a couple of minutes, and so don't change the channel, and so we'll be right back.
Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me Sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the islands and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me Sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go?
Benny's is kicking off Father's Day with popping deals for dad. In the month of June, visit a Benny's near you and get 19 to 25% off selected items such as Milwaukee and Axie power tools, Charbroil barbecue grills, car care products, Karcher pressure washers, and much more. Make dad happy with popping deals for dad in June, only at Benny's.
Benny's, Benny's, oh, Benny's, 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 oh.
In our world that's always changing, one thing stays the same.
Our promise as Smart Belize to keep you connected.
Connected to the moments, the people, and the future that matter most.
With every new tower, our service upgrades, and every new smile, we're keeping our promise in building more than a network.
We're building a future, a family as Smart Belize. From Punta Gorda to Corozal, we are here not just as a network, but as your partner in progress.
We have grown significantly over the past 20 years, and we just keep growing. Thank you for placing your trust in us. We remain dedicated to providing meaningful connections that bring value in every way that matters to you. We continue to bring people together.
Each year, as we launch the theme for national celebrations, we enter a period that really goes up until Independence Day. During this special period, we try to make a special effort to celebrate Belize, to showcase Belize's culture, Belize's heritage, our history, our diversity. Belize at 44, stronger together, rising forever. I think as a country we've always understood the importance of unity. When we work together as a people, we can overcome any challenge, any obstacle. Resilience. How can we rise above the challenges? How can we continue to be a resilient people, even when we face adversity? How do we respond to that adversity? So I think it's a very, very timely, a very relevant theme. And I certainly hope that, we embrace that theme and that Belizeans will get a sense of purpose out of this theme.
Pletz Home Builders is the largest house building company in Belize. Pletz combines the best skilled workers, high-grade materials, and the latest technology to produce the highest quality wooden residential structures. Request any size, color, and the home layout you want. Choose from hardwood or painted metal outer walls. Pletz can modify any of their existing house plans to your satisfaction, complete with all the installation services you need anywhere in the country, including ambergris Cree. They can also lift your house to your desired height up to 9 feet. From properly treated and cured lumber to quality sidings and floorings, let Pletz Home Builders give your home the finish you need. For prices or questions, call 823-0398 or go to www.pletzhomebuilders.com. Pletz Home Builders, we build to suit your needs.
Looking to build or renovate? Find the inspiration you need in our showroom. First stop, the kitchen. Explore big-name appliances, all built to make life easier. From there, let the lights guide you. But what about the finer details? We've got you covered. And to bring it all together, we've got tiles for every surface.
All available online.
Builders Hardware, your home improvement warehouse.
Belize, it's here. Digits WTF Mega 3-Day Sale Event. What? I meant Wednesday, May 28th, Thursday, May 29th, and on Friday, May 30th only. With exclusive devices offers starting at just $59. What? Yes, on DigiWallet's marketplace. Shopping stores, only device deals at DigiStores and Cellular World locations countrywide with savings up to $260. Are you serious? Yes. Enjoy slash prices when you sign up for a mobile postpaid plan, DigiOne bundle, or DigiNet plan. This is the sale you don't want to miss. Rush in or tap fast before it's all gone. The WTF Mega 3-Day Sale Event, only with Digi, and once it's gone, it's gone. Gone.
Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the islands and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I spread my bed? Where would I lay my head? Nobody know. Nobody know. If I ever had to leave me home, no other place I ever roam could be like Belize. Be like Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the islands and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. Creole and Garifuna, Mestizo and Maya, living in peace. Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize. Sweet Belize, land of the islands and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, if I ever had to leave Belize, where would I go?
Welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us. And we're talking about some important stuff this morning. And we're talking about the importance of setting things in order. Even as I say that, the thought that comes to my mind is you look at some of the most prosperous nations on planet Earth, and they also have a very strong sense of order. They have very strong sense and application of consequences when something goes wrong. And, you know, Kerm, I almost don't want to use this example of Singapore because, you know, it's an Asian country, and then people tend to switch off in their mind that, okay, well, those are Asians. They're so completely different from us in the Caribbean. Well, but the principle is still true, right? When, like Switzerland, you know, as a very prosperous country, you look at some of the other European countries that are very prosperous countries, and just the culture of order, right? And with that order is a strong internal government in their hearts. And but in Singapore, Kerm, very, very, very strict country.
Yeah.
Very, very, very strict country. But then what comes right along with that strictness is
prosperity.
Like the prosperity, you know,
Yeah.
our unemployment. I don't believe the figures of unemployment. When you define employment as working 1 hour a week, like we are not getting a clear, accurate picture of unemployment. But nevertheless, in Singapore, their unemployment rate is 0.
Yeah.
Everybody has a job. It's actually better than 0, Kerm. It's actually negative something. In other words, they have what's called an employee deficit. They have to import workers because they've got so many jobs. They don't have enough people, and they have to import workers. And in Singapore, it's law. Every person must own their own home. And so they've set up this plan. So everybody has a job, and then they set up this plan that a percentage of your income, you know, automatically goes into your payment towards your housing. Everybody owns their own home. A lot of them are apartments. They're tall, you know, apartment buildings because they've got a higher population density. But you know, they're very, very strict. Somebody sat down with a calculator and calculated how many tons of chicle there would be if everybody's chewing chicle and spitting it out on the street. Chicle is against the law. They do not allow chewing gum in Singapore. So they're very, very strict, right? But everybody gets what they need to get. Everybody has what they need to have. Most of all, jobs and work and importance, significance, all of that. And so anyways, I'm just saying that stronger sense of order lays a foundation for prosperity. And so we had a guy from Switzerland here in Belize at Youth in the Mission. Youth in the Mission is an international missions organization. So we had people from Fiji, from Switzerland, from Canada, United States, South America, South Africa, all over the whole world. And the Swiss guy told me, he said, you know, in Switzerland, he said, nobody uses fold-over wallets. They all have flat wallets because in Switzerland you keep your money flat. Yeah. And he said if you go to pay with money that's crumpled up or folded, or like, they won't accept it.
Yeah.
Right. And so like simple little things like that, but just I'm not saying that whether or not you fold your money or crumple your money is going to make the difference. I'm talking about the sense of order, because that trickles into every area in their lives, right? And so and then when we see these areas of disorder, it's one of the things that it's causing us to limp as a nation.
That's right.
We could be running, and it's causing us to limp as a nation. And I want to say this. I want to run. I want for us to run together as a nation. But so where are the auditors from the banking system?
Yeah.
On this issue with the credit union?
I think they're probably on vacation.
Maybe on long leave. I don't know.
I mean, I think, you know, Pastor Scott, even the government should have been saying something about this. You know, like this, all eyes on that credit union, and this is not over. It's not over. They usually say it's not over until the fat lady sing. Well, they ain't got time to dress yet. Right? So we need Jews. We have to call Jews. Look at the Jews today.
Well,
FIU, Jews are the FBI, CIA. We need to put the pressure on. The unions need to put the pressure on because somebody has to be arrested. Listen, this is crime that was clearly committed. Crime that was clearly... Pastor Scott, let me ask you a question. Was that criminal or not? Let me hear from you because I don't want it to be my opinion. Was that criminal in your view or not? What happened at that credit union?
Well, I'm not fully aware of everything of what happened, but everything that I know, according to the laws, yes, that was criminal. And like I said, for an average Joe like you or me, to go and do that, I mean, they would bring a rope and hang us right there.
So are you saying that there's some more stuff we need to come out? Can you say
I would imagine. Right now we've got a call though. Caller, thank you for joining our conversation this morning.
Hello, good morning, Pastor.
Morning.
Pastor Kerm.
Morning.
I would like to ask permission to use this medium to send an appeal to BEL.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm appealing to BEL if they could kindly come and remove this falling lamppost with a lot of wires that are in my yard in Lord's Bank.
Okay.
It's going for 3 years now.
Oh my goodness.
The post is damaging my fence and the house. And the tenants, I cannot get any tenants because they are afraid for this lamppost. I tried, I went to the office, I applied. Of late, I used their app that they said you must use. And up to now, they still have not removed the post. I tried to get in contact with whoever is in charge of who is in charge, and that's the most difficult thing because nobody wants to put you through to the person in charge.
That's right.
I'll give you a number,
in charge, when you get a number,
I'll give you a number,
they call
Carla.
you back and they do not call you back.
I'll give you a number,
I'm
Carla.
trying this medium to see if BEL will do something about this lamppost, and I also want to know if I can put in a claim. It's damaging my fence, it's damaging the house, and now my tenants are afraid of the lamppost. They do not want to, I cannot get a house rent. As they tell me that lamppost made with the going that lamppost. So I really would appreciate it because like what you are all discussing this morning, if you go through the regular normal way, you do not get attended to.
It's sad.
They don't attend to you.
Yes.
I'll give you a number to call.
You look like you have to get certain status to make them deal with you. So I really would appreciate if BL could deal with this. I don't know what to do, what else to do after this.
I'll give you a number to call, Carla, and then you call this person. And if he's not the person in charge, then he will be able to route you to whoever it is. Okay?
I really would appreciate it.
But the number is 610-0839. Okay? 610. So you call that person and you tell them I gave you the number, and have them address it for you. If that person probably is the one responsible in charge. If not, then he can direct you to whoever is. All right. So hopefully, I get some progress on that.
Yeah, because I have been to the office, asked to someone in charge. They have been waiting there to talk to a phone. So it doesn't make sense to go to the office.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for calling in. Thank you. You too. And from what you were talking about, we need Jules, down there at the credit union. I mean, many times people come to media houses when they're not getting any movement, right? Because then they're going to bring this information out publicly, and as soon as it comes out publicly, boom, somebody steps on it, right? And it's sad. It's sad that it's that way, and I would say
let me tell you something. Right?
It's the leaders' inaction that causes that to happen.
In GLS.
And so it does speak of the power of media. As helping with this balancing act in the country of Belize, or any country for that matter.
It's one of the laws that we teach in GLS, all right, from research. Data on our previous show, we were talking about the power of data collection. One of the laws that they teach in GLS is that there's 6 things that makes change possible. This is world-class research. This is decades of research. That's one of the things that they identified, that public shame is one of the things you have to use to make change possible. People are like going to put their name out there, and the guy cited one of the cases in Colombia where there was a problem in the city with a lot of horns that people were blowing. They called it the Horn City. And it was embarrassing. And this mayor decided, you know what, he went counterculture. And he implemented a shame factor. And you know, the place was transformed. And so maybe that's what it's going to take. Because we are asking this morning, why has nobody been arrested? Then the thief people money, Pastor Scott. This is stealing. Yeah. This is over what we know about 600,000. And that kind of corruption may happen with this credit union. And that's why people are upset with the era rep, because they're saying this person was hired in the Ministry of Economic Development. I mean, I'm just saying this is news. This is news, right?
Public domain.
How can this person was actually what? Rewarded instead of punished? This person was rehired. They're like, what? No, man. We can't have, this is how Mexico City, this is how Mexico became Mexico. The corruption. We know about all the problem with the cartels, and everywhere you go, people want your money. Mexicans will do anything to rob you of your money. We don't want to become a nation like that. And therefore, the people, the unions, we have to demand. We have to ask the question, where is UNCAP? Where is the mechanism? Where is the system that holds things in check, Pastor Scott? You know, in the United States, being the world's largest economy, one thing you don't mess around with, right, is their investment system. You remember what happened to Martha Stewart? So look right now, I'm so happy P. Diddy is on trial. He was a big icon. If he may not believe, Pastor Scott, do you think he may even in any courtroom?
Just talk with somebody.
Yeah,
you're gone clear, man.
You're gone clear. You understand? But that's one of the beautiful things about the United States of America. It's the rule of law.
That's right. We talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
We have it in our Constitution.
Oh man, well, we need to take it out. I mean,
that's where they say talk is cheap.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but it's the implementation. It's the execution. It's where the rubber meets the road. What they call a level playing field, where the same law goes for everybody. And doesn't matter if you're PUP or UDP. This is a good example of this. I was talking with a police officer. We were actually in a meeting, and this police officer was in the meeting, right? And he was guarding the entrance to GG Field for some September celebrations, and saw a lady pull up in a vehicle and she wanted to drive upon GG Field. Ma'am, I'm sorry, they told us no vehicles on GG Field. And the lady looked at me and said, you don't know who me? You don't know who me? No, ma'am, I don't. Well, I'm the wife of so-and-so, so-and-so. He said, it's pleased to meet you, miss. Now please move your vehicle, right? And you want me to call the commissioner? He said, I got the commissioner's number right here on my phone. I could call him if you want. And so she'd get on the phone and call the commissioner and this and that and that. And so anyways, he stood his ground. Yeah. Miss, my apologies, which he doesn't even have to say that.
Yeah.
He's being nice. He's being polite. But we were instructed no vehicles on the field.
Yeah.
And so you need to move your vehicle right now, or I will call for a tow truck and we will move it for you, right? And she becks and back up and drive off, and it's like,
make a call too. She probably made the call.
Yeah, she made the call. I would hope the guy didn't get in trouble, because if he gets in trouble for standing up and being firm in doing what's right, and what basically Danoi Auntie, you know, we're talking about the wife of a minister or whatever, and I don't care who you are. Yeah. We were told no vehicles, you know, and if you let one, then everybody else, every other minister's wife is going to want to come.
Lead by example.
You see what I'm saying? And so those are dynamics of good governance, and it happened to me. I just realized the other day when I reached my checkpoint, insurance expired.
Aye.
Insurance expired. I got a notification. I thought it was for the other vehicle, right? And so I thought this one was good. Insurance expired.
Wow, that's deep.
Sir, pull over on the side, you know. And what am I going to say? You don't know who me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I refuse to say that. Yeah. And I've had that happen before when people are in the vehicle. Pastor Scott, just tell him who you are, you know. And it's like, no, I refuse to do that. I refuse to do that.
Yeah.
The officer didn't know anything about me.
Yeah.
Took me to the station in Belize City. Yes.
Whoa.
And the guy in charge knew me. Hi, Pastor Scott. This is not good. I said, I know. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Right? And anyways, all of that just to say, he said, listen, I cannot let you go back without insurance. And can you call your insurance guy? I said, well, I could call a insurance guy. He said, I just need, if you could give me a screenshot of that sticker. He said, I will let you drive home. But this one where it just happened, he said, where are you going? I said, well, I'm going to Belize City, going to see, you know, my family, and then coming back. And he said, you can't bring this vehicle home. I said, well, then how about if we park the vehicle there with my family and we'll take their vehicle home? He said, yes, that would be fine. Make a big hassle for me.
Yeah.
Now I have to go, you know, go drive the vehicle all the way back the next day and all of that, right? But like, he was firm. I respect, you know, that he was firm. He found a creative way to allow it to slide for a little bit to where I could park the vehicle in a safe place. And so, and part of me thought, well, I don't think the police found out there when I come back home, right? So maybe we'll just, you know, take the vehicle. And I heard the Holy Spirit say,
Yeah.
You gave him your word. Yes, that's right. Can we use your vehicle for go home? As we go home, that is same set of police out there at a checkpoint. You want to see Pastor Scott ugly face right on the cover of Amandala. You know, they're busted, right? So anyways.
Hypocrite.
Yes, I don't want to be a hypocrite, right? You know? And so I'm saying that just to say, I have felt it also. I know Pastor Wade has felt it. I know you felt it. And like I said, you're going to pull this Simply card from your back pocket. You don't know who me? You know, like nobody cares about who you are. I don't want to be like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mel Gibson when he get pulled over for drunk driving. You don't know who me? Like, sorry. I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who I am. I am a citizen. I am a person just like everybody else. And I'm a law-abiding citizen. And if that, and me to talk about, you know, execution and implementation, and then I get executed upon and implemented upon, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then I said to myself, you know, that me to push for this greater order, and now the greater order come crunch down upon me, right? So I'm just saying, folks, we got to push for better, but we're watching this stuff happening right in front of our eyes. We're watching these conflict of interest areas like, man, we were supposed to have learned this a long time ago. When you're the opposition, you rail up with the government when they never do that kind of thing there, and then you come in there and then you do the same exact thing, and then they, who used to be so corrupt, then they rail up against you, right? And I would say, well, I have to agree with them, but you understand? But I was
like
agreeing with I was agreeing with you guys before. Yeah. Now I'm agreeing with them because I wanted to do the same kind of fool.
You have to hang on with the person and tell the truth.
Yes. And so right is right and wrong is wrong. So
and anyway. Pastor Scott, I had to tell you something, right? We had a discussion somewhere, and somebody was in that discussion making an appeal to say, man, are we going to be able to praise our leaders because of the legacy that they've left behind, or will they fall into the same trap like previous leaders in the past. You know, famous quote from the previous Prime Minister, Honorable Said Musa says, "Don't watch me, watch yourself." That word is true today. The cookie jar is still on the table, you know.
Yeah.
And it's very attractive. The cookie jar is like, man, there's all kinds of precious things inside. And everybody want a piece. And we're saying to the government, if you don't put the things in place to protect yourself, you want self-destruct. And your name will be written on the list of all the other names of people who have been cursed by their people and their nation. People will call you thieves. You know what Jules said the other day on beef, the man in beef, last week, Monday. Jules make this comment. He say, and the House of Representatives. And when say, oh, did my mouth slip? He said, oh no, my mouth didn't slip. The House of Representatives. I was like, no, that's a big statement. How much of it is true? I can't, you're not a black man, I'm a black man, quote unquote, right? Just
and what does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
If somebody's China can say, Pastor Scott, you're black inside. This is a black man's skin, right? No. If you go and you steal the people money, how they only have one name for call you. Well, that time you Pastor Scott.
I'll let you fill in the blank on that one.
And so,
but
so guys,
white people do the same thing. Right?
No, I was just saying, I wasn't talking about.
I understand.
I was just using an
analogy. I need to frame the conversation.
It was a simple analogy about the color.
Because in every situation, you got good people and you have bad people.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And
course,
so, and then people want to generalize or whatever, right?
Yeah, you can.
But that's the whole thing. The one law that fits all.
Yeah.
And no exceptions.
It's called a rule of law.
Yes.
Simple.
And if you get a wali tiny exception like what I got, that was called mercy.
Yeah.
It gave me wali free pass, you know, to be able to get the vehicle to where I needed to go and park it. But I made him a promise that we would drive our family's vehicle home, and then I would get the insurance, and then we would drive back in. And so said, so done. That's what we did, right?
And that's the man I say a liar and a pastor.
And when I come back through that checkpoint, I smile at the man, you know, a different vehicle, right? I smile at the man. I say, "You remember me?" He said, "Boy," he said, "Pastor." I said, "This now a different vehicle, right?" And so he said, "Thank you very much." He even thanked me, you know. Anyways, all of that just to say, the one law fits for everybody, but then it's like if you're in a government or in a ruling party, like you get a free pass. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Like my Bible says, "Let there not be many teachers among you, knowing that us who teach incur a stricter judgment."
That's right.
When you're a leader, you are under greater scrutiny.
Of course.
Right? And then that goes to the very core difference between a leader and a politician. A leader is somebody who cares about how things are.
Yeah.
A politician is somebody who cares how they appear.
That's right.
Right? And we know that appearance.
Yeah.
We want to see things set in order. And so I'm just encouraging us because, I'm grateful for the teachers, pushing and public service and different ones. And so, and you mentioned earlier, we need to hear from the chamber and all that, but it's like...
Pastor Scott,
yes, but at the same time, if we have to hear from all of these people in order for action to happen, something is wrong.
That's right.
Like, in other words, we only actually enforce the law when everybody starts to rail up. And it's like, no, it needs to be every day, 24/7. No bias. If the law changes, then the application changes. If the law doesn't change, and me don't care who wife you are to whoever or whatever. And so, anyways, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Rule of light, Scott, Pastor Scott. Yes. So we don't have that system in Belize, and so it's unfortunate that we will have the opposite of it, which can tailspin this country into a very, very dangerous place.
Yeah.
Because When you look at Mexico, I was just told yesterday, I was with a friend. They brought a part from me from the United States. They drove to Mexico. I just came from Mexico 3 weeks ago. And he said, Kerm, I had a very frightening experience. They said, no, the cartels, they wait for you. After you come out, what is called the pen, the Mexican authorities where they check you in, right? You come out, within quarter mile, there's this bridge that you cross over. He says, as they cross the bridge, the cartels were there waiting. And they pull them over. And it's like, show me your papers. And they wanted money. And the guy said it was so frightening. He felt so he said the guy was all scarred up, one of them, and he said he was terrified. This is a big man in a way. He's no coward, but the experience he had. Why? Because through the authorities, they've allowed corruption to become so deeply entrenched in how people do everyday life that now it's out of control. You missing guys out there, you don't give them the money, you are a dead man. They're not playing no games. That's how bad it has become. And so for us in Belize, I mean, we are still in our not so early stage because we've been here for a while, but these matters must be addressed very, very seriously. We need a Bukele, like what you said, type approach to uproot the corruption. And to me, what I want to say, Pastor Scott, as early as possible is the fact that on the news we will hear something about those, I think it's what was 8 or 11 people at that credit union who, in fact, they embezzled, they stole people trust and the people's money, and no arrests, nothing about no police, nothing. One was actually rehired. That's like, what? Excuse me? No, man, we're not upon that. That's not the culture we want to create, because it doesn't spread like gangrene. And so we are expecting to hear that somebody gets arrested for the crime that was committed. Those are major, major issues, Pastor Scott.
That's right. That's right. I'm remembering President Fox from Mexico.
Yes,
years
Vicente
back.
Fox.
Yes, and 4,000 federal officials were fired in one day. They had spent however long training new officials in a new system, right? And in one day, 4,000, what? Clean sweep, one day, you are gone and somebody else is there in your position, right? It's called a reset. And many times that happens when there's a new leader that comes in, and there's a reset, a new system, a new mindset, a new application, you know. And so we've seen that in small ways, you know, when the change of government, and so everybody behaves themselves when they first come in. Like I said, the first term for the last three-peat for the UDP, you know, their first term, it was amazing. It was wonderful. Those were the good old days, right? Things were being set in order. And then second term, hanky-panky starts to come. And then, I mean, third term, Kerm, it was like a septic tank.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And so I'm saying that just to say there needs to be a reset. And either you have that internal discipline and government in your heart to implement that reset, or the system will reset itself, right? But I know in my heart of hearts that Belize is a blessed nation. And I know that there's so much more that we could do. I've heard the stories of, like, we don't have a very good reputation, Kerm, when it comes to international and business and attracting business. I talk with some people that were wanting to come in and set up a juice business. We're going to be doing fruits and all that kind of stuff, and set up a juice business. And then they're bringing in the plastic containers, put the juice in. They were going to be in Belize for 3 or 4 days and then back out with the juice. And so it was going to be Belize exporting and this and that and that. And so they were just asking for a concession, you know, on the drums when they come in. Government wouldn't give, nope, they're going to charge duty on the drums. They come in and they haggled over this, they're fighting over it, and the guys say, you know what, the fact that we even have to haggle over this, you know, we're not going to do this. And I talked to them later on. Yeah, we set up in Mexico. They gave us free concession. Plus, they helped us, you know. And so we're making money. We're producing juice out of Mexico. And they looked at me and said, very, very sad for Belize. You know, I spoke. Yes. And because part of our problem is we're so short-sighted in our vision. Corruption is short-sightedness, right? Like you want to take your little piece right now, but you don't see the bigger picture of the fact that you are planting a seed, a corrupt seed that's going to sprout and bring forth more corruption, right? And so anyways, I'm saying that to us because I want to challenge us and I want to encourage us. We can do so much better, but Kerm, I'm going to hammer this point, okay? We need a commission in our nation, whether it's UNCAC or whether it's something that we could do on our own, but it needs to be bipartisan. It needs to have leaders from both political parties and maybe even third parties or whatever, but it's run by a board, and the people that are approved on that commission are approved by all the parties involved. In other words, they've got to be people that are known for their unbiased.
Kind of like how the union is kind of like how the senators are set up. We have the public sector. You have different stakeholders, the church, the unions, all the different.
They need to be men and women of character and integrity. But then, if we have a situation that happens in Belize, and we've talked about this before, we need an independent investigation.
Yeah.
There is no mechanism in Belize for an independent investigation.
Yeah.
And you know, I've been there for over 40 years, and you hear them talk about, well, Scotland Yard, or whatever. How many times has Scotland Yard ever come to Belize? I don't think, and if people want to come out from the Commonwealth, and then there goes your Scotland Yard, and we still don't have any kind of body for an independent investigation. And so when you have the government investigating government, you know, concerning corruption, or when you have police investigating police, and so we need something different.
Cover up. You have cover ups.
Yes.
It's not gonna work.
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest.
Right? And so and this is one of the most important concepts for democracy. And so anyways, I want to say this. This was part of our feedback for National Evangelical Association to the Constitution. We need a mechanism in our country, and I like the concept, you know, if we will stay in the Westminster, you know, system and in the Commonwealth, I would love to see the Ministry of Governor General.
Yeah.
Right? And then that's where election and boundaries should be. Is under the Ministry of Government. Like, that's supposed to be nonpartisan, unbiased, right? Independent investigations, that's where that should be taking place, right? Unbiased, you know, and that's where you plant. I believe the Commissioner of Police should come under that ministry, right? But to where we sidestep the political bias. Yes, the separation of powers.
Yeah.
And so I know some people are really what I would consider to be hell-bent on coming out of the Commonwealth, right? Because of their blah, 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 blah. But anyways, I believe with all of my heart that I think we need somebody looking over our shoulder. And I know Great Britain is not dictating to Belize. They're not dictating to us. We have access to Commonwealth law, you know, of all the different Commonwealth countries where we can use those cases or whatever, you know, access all of that kind of information. Britain is not dictating to us, but as a big brother looking over the shoulder, I believe that it's nice and I believe it's wise to have somebody to say, excuse me, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's a safety check, right? And so for us, we teach this and train this for those in ministry, pastors and leaders and ministry leaders. We all need accountability people in our life. We need somebody that says, excuse me, I don't think you can do that. I think you need to do this. If somebody doesn't have the power to tell you no, then as far as I'm concerned, you're just kind of a loose cannon out there, right? And so the importance of that accountability dynamic. So I told the Prime Minister in one of our conversations, you give me 3 politicians in prison and I'd be willing to sit down and talk about coming out of the Commonwealth. Prove to us that we have the ability in an unbiased, righteous way to be able to address areas of corruption and implement and execute standing on our own 2 feet. You give me 3 politicians behind bars and then I'm willing to talk about us coming out. But until that time, I think that it's wise for us to have somebody looking over our shoulder, somebody that has a code and a constitution. The Commonwealth has a quote-unquote constitution. There's kind of a code of this is what it means to be part of the Commonwealth. And so I think that it's wise to have that, because without that, who do we answer to? You know? And so anyways, that's a whole big conversation. But what we're specifically talking about here today is areas of corruption. And I believe Auditor General's office should come under that independent commission,
and
right?
Contractor General.
Yes, Contractor General, Ombudsman, all of these areas that they desperately need to be non-political, right? And unbiased, to where right is right, wrong is wrong, and it applies evenly for everyone. And so, like what they say, emphasis on say. They say, but we don't do, without fear or favor, right? And so anyways, we should go ahead and wrap up here this morning. It's been wonderful having the conversation with you, and so, but what we're pushing for is a better Belize. And I need to say this before we go, Kerm. I don't agree with the Prime Minister, respectfully. I don't agree with the Prime Minister on extending the Constitution process. The law said 60 days after receiving the report, the Prime Minister has 60 days to decide what we're going to do. Are we going to revise the Constitution, amend the Constitution, or scrap it and do a whole new Constitution? Any way you cut it, whatever happens is going to have to finish out with a referendum that goes to the people of Belize. The people of Belize are going to have to give thumbs up or thumbs down. I am thinking that it might be a line item referendum where you get to select yes on this one, no on that, yes on this one, no on that, yes on this, no on that.
That's so interesting.
I would hope so. I would hope so. What could they've got a wide range of recommendations, you know, on the Constitution. But here's my point. The Prime Minister is asking for a year. I hope this isn't already a done deal. Asking for a year to implement. And we just went through the situation with the Families Act bill. Whenever you see, in this day and age, when you see a bill coming through government about families, immediately your antennas go up, right? Because people are wanting to redefine everything these days. So anyways, we zeroed in on that, but then so many points in that Families Act bill that we brought this to the attention of the committee, and I need to give absolute kudos to Honorable Minister Gilroy Usher, who chaired that committee. I have never been in a House committee meeting like what we were in with that group. And that was PUP and UDP and, you know, drafters of legislation. Anyways, I have never been in a House committee meeting like I was in that one, where they listened and they asked questions. I've been in House committee meetings where we're bringing feedback, and like I feel like an intruder, like we're going, hold on a second, this can't fly, right? Like if this happens, then this and this and this can happen, and you feel like you're an invader. You know, you feel like, you know, let despots flee. You know, we are the despots that are trying to push for giving feedback as to what's going to be in the better interest for the nation of Belize. Anyways, this House committee meeting on that bill, Kerm, I had never been in a meeting like that. I saw Honorable Minister Usher just recently, and I shook his hand. I told him, right? And so, thank you, sir. I'm saying it here publicly for the nation. Thank you, sir. He did a great job leading it. Yes. And again, they asked questions. They kind of challenged some of the questions. They allowed us to challenge back. It was wonderful, and came out of that House committee meeting and got a memo that the bill has been stayed. It's been sent back to the ministry that it came from and to the drafters. Some things need to be redrafted. They heard us. It was wonderful. And so it's democracy. It's you know, we are stakeholders. And I'm saying that just to say those kind of dynamics, you know, to where we can make adjustments. But what we raised to that committee is that some of these things in this bill are actually fly in the face of the recommendations that have been presented to the Prime Minister for changes to the Constitution. So here we got a legislation that's coming through that flies in the face of the recommendations. If we're going to implement these recommendations, we're going to find ourselves, you know, having a situation, and then what we're going to try and pause this whole thing for 1 year. I do not feel comfortable with that. The recommendations, most of them came from the people of Belize. It's the feedback from the people of Belize. Some of the ones that came were not from the people of Belize. It's from people that met behind closed doors who have created this whole big plan to do this, and they managed to get it into the recommendation. It's particularly in relation to withdrawing from the Commonwealth. So I was at a number of those forums, and I didn't hear anybody. Maybe one person, you know, out of 50 or 60 or 70 people that stood up and spoke, maybe one person, we need to withdraw from the Commonwealth. What people were talking about is we need stronger anti-corruption. That's why we're talking about this today. We need to set things in order. There needs to be consequences for political leaders when they step out of line. That's what people are concerned about. The supremacy of God. That was the big number one. The supremacy of God stays in the Constitution. Right? Another one was children belong to parents, not to the government.
That's right.
And so these are fundamental, important, you know, themes.
Fundamental rights and freedoms.
Rights, yes, in relation to democracy. And so, but then these people managed to get building a whole different system of government from coming out of the Commonwealth into that. So, but
Sounds like agenda based.
I did not hear that in the forums that I was involved with, and I was involved with a number of them. And so, anyways, I'm just saying, it's the voice of the people for the most part. Some of those things I would have to say strongly. It's not the voice of the people, it's a voice of a group that's pushing for their agenda, right? But the majority, the bulk majority of that, especially all of that input that was put in categories off of the feedback from citizens. They have all of the data. You know, you were talking about getting the proper data. They have all the data on that. This is the voice of the people, and then we're going to wait for a year to implement when the law said 60 days. I don't feel comfortable with that, and so if we can't see some change on that, we might have to take a little bit of a stronger position than not feeling comfortable, right? But I mention this to us because Belize, we need to pay attention. To me, it's sad that the teachers have to demonstrate, they have to block the roads and this and that in order to get some attention on important issues where we keep kicking the can down the road, and we're kicking UNCAC down the road. Right? Yeah, we're working on it. You know, no, we're kicking it down the road. When something is important, we build it, and we build it quickly. Guatemala, for all of their problems, they have a former president and I think 2 former vice presidents behind bars.
It's good.
In Guatemala because of UNCAC.
Yeah.
Right. So, anyways, that's my final words for today. Kerm, your closing words.
No, I think well said, Pastor Scott. I believe it's issues of relevance, great relevance, and those are current issues. You know, and there's so much. We don't need to. Anyways, we could go on and on because there's so much to talk about as it relates to these matters. But I guess I'll close by saying that I would hope that the unions would add these things to their requests. You know, talking about good governance, mechanisms, and putting the right things in place as it deals with corruption and the tendering processes and company registry legislations that were passed that protects owners of these companies, that you can't see who own these companies. You know, these are things that are very relevant and important because it has to do with inflation, with how we do life, with the kind of wages, everything for our future, everything. And so I would hope that there's an organized effort that's, I don't want it to be hostile, but it needs to be democratically executed to show that, man, hey, these are the things that we need to put in place and we can't back down until these things are implemented. If not, our country is making more steps in the wrong direction.
Right.
And so,
and then hopefully, Kerm, that those suggestions, those inputs could meet with faith in the hearts of our leaders, that somebody could have their eyes open wide enough to be able to say, yes, we agree, this would be in the best interest of the people. But
yeah.
we are still in a system, and it's probably this way with every nation on planet Earth. The reason why people get involved in government is to get close to the money pot.
Yeah.
You know, to where when nobody's looking, you reach in there. And so,
okay,
anyways,
like the credit union.
yes, let's continue to mobilize for change in our nation. The Constitution.
Where did Pastor Scott show me again?
And so,
that's
well,
classic.
it made it to the Amandala paper one time, right?
Yeah.
Had a picture of Syed Musa and the late Ralph Fonseca. And they just buried him a couple days ago. But I can't remember which one was saying what. But they're looking in the money pot, and one of them looks in and says, "Things aren't looking too good," and the other one said, "Yeah, we need another hurricane." You know, and so that was a mandala, right? So if you don't like that, put that on a mandala. Anyways, thank you for joining with us today. I hope that this has helped kind of prick some things in your heart and get your mind thinking that we still need to mobilize. We need to agitate respectfully. We need to agitate for change in our nation. We've got a good platform for change with this constitutional recommendations document. That's why I'm saying I don't think that should be shelved for a year. I think that we need to implement it. It should not be hard. So anyways, thank you for joining us. Kerm, thanks for being with me this morning. And Pastor Wade, we will see you back this upcoming week.
Tomorrow's Friday.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Is he on it? Is he on?
I don't know.
So I think it won't be till next week. But anyways, please, let's keep praying for Belize. Let's not back down. Let's keep pushing for righteousness to bring things into order, which lays a foundation for prosperity. That's where we want to go because God has called us as a blessed nation. Thanks for tuning in. God bless you all and have a wonderful day.
Sweet Belize, land of the sand and sea, land of the coconut tree. I love me sweet Belize, sweet Belize, land of the islands and keys, land of the barrier reef. I love me sweet Belize. If I ever had to leave Belize, where would I